Hello, fact lovers! Today we are here with 10 interesting facts about Spanish flu. So let's start. Fact number 1. It struck in 3 waves across the world. The first wave in the 1918 pandemic took place in the spring of that year and was generally mild. Those infected experienced typical flu symptoms, chills, fever, fatigue, and usually recovered after several days. The number of reported deaths was low. In the autumn of 1918, the second wave appeared, and with a vengeance. Victims died within hours or days of developing symptoms. Their skin would turn blue, and their lungs would fill with fluids, causing them to suffocate. In the space of 1 year, the average life expectancy in the United States plummeted by a dozen a year. A third, more moderate wave hit in the spring of 1919. By the summer, it had subsided. Fact number 2. Its origins are unknown to this day. The 1918 flu was first observed in Europe, America, and parts of Asia, before rapidly spreading across every part of the world within a matter of months. It remains unknown where the particular strain of influenza, the first pandemic involving the H1N1 influenza virus, came from. There is some evidence to suggest that the virus came from a bird or farm animal in the American Midwest, traveling among the animal species before mutating into a version that took hold in the human population. Some claim the epicenter was a military camp in Kansas, and that it spread through the US and into Europe via the troops who traveled east to fight in the First World War. Others believe it originated in China and was transported by laborers heading for the Western Front. Fact number 3. It didn't come from Spain despite the nickname. Despite its colloquial name, the 1918 flu did not originate from Spain. The British Medical Journal referred to the virus as Spanish flu because Spain was hit hard by a disease. Even Spain's King Alfonso XIII reportedly contracted the flu. In addition, Spain was not subject to the wartime news censorship rules that affected other European countries. In response, Spaniards named the illness the Naples soldier. The German army called it Blitzkatara, and British troops referred to it as a Flanders gripe or the Spanish lady. Fact number 4. There were no drugs or vaccine to treat it. When the flu hit, doctors and scientists were unsure what caused it or how to treat it. At the time, there were no effective vaccines or antivirals to treat the deadly strain. People were advised to wear masks, avoid shaking hands, and to stay indoors. Schools, churches, theaters, and businesses were shuttered. Libraries put a halt on lending books, and quarantines were imposed across communities. Bodies began to pile up in makeshift morgues, while hospitals quickly became overloaded with flu patients. Doctors, health staff, and medical students became infected. It was not until the 1940s that the first licensed flu vaccine appeared in the US. By the following decade, vaccines were routinely produced to help control and prevent future pandemics. Fact number 5. It was particularly deadly for young and healthy people. Most influenza outbreaks only claim as fatalities juveniles, the elderly, or people who are already weakened. Today, flu is especially dangerous for under 5 years olds and those over 75. The 1918 influenza pandemic, however, affected completely healthy and strong adults between 20 and 40 years of age, including millions of World War I soldiers. Surprisingly, children and those with weaker immune systems were spared from death. Those aged 75 and above had the lowest death rate of all. Fact number 6. The medical profession tried to play down its severity. In the summer of 1918, the Royal College of Physicians claimed the flu was no more threatening than the Russian flu of 1189 to 94. The British Medical Journal accepted that overcrowding on transport and in the workplace was necessary for the war effort and implied that the inconvenience of the flu should be quietly borne. Individual doctors also did not fully comprehend the severity of the disease and tried to play it down to avoid spreading anxiety. In Egremont, Cumbria, which saw an appalling death rate, the medical officer requested the rector stop ringing the church bells for each funeral because he wanted to keep people cheerful. Fact number 7. 25 million people died in the first 25 weeks. As the second wave of autumn hit, the flu epidemic spiraled out of control. In most cases, hemorrhages in the nose and lungs killed victims within 3 days. International ports, usually the first place in the country to be infected, reported serious problems. In the Sierra Leone, 500 out of 600 dock workers felt too sick to work. Epidemics were quickly seen in Africa, India, and Far East. In London, the spread of the virus became far more deadly and contagious as it mutated. Fact number 8. It reached almost every single part of the world. The 1918 pandemic was of a truly global scale. It infected 500 million people across the world, including those on remote Pacific islands and in the Arctic. In Latin America, 10 out of every 1,000 people died. In Africa, it was 15 per 1,000. In Asia, the death toll reached as high as 35 in every 1,000. In Europe and America, troops traveling by boat and train took the flu into cities from where it spread to the countryside. Only St. Helena in the South Atlantic and a handful of South Pacific islands did not report an outbreak. Fact number 9. The exact death toll is impossible to know. The estimated death toll attributed to the 1918 flu epidemic is usually at 20 million to 50 million victims worldwide. Other estimates run as high as 100 million victims, around 3% of the world's population. However, it is impossible to know what the exact death toll was due to the lack of accurate medical record keeping in many infected places. The epidemic wiped out entire families, destroyed whole communities, and overwhelmed funeral parlors across the world. Fact number 10. It killed more people than World War I combined. More American soldiers died from the 1918 flu than were killed in battle during the First World War. In fact, the flu claimed more lives than all of the World War I battles combined. The outbreak turned the previously strong immune system against them. 40% of the US Navy were infected, while 36% of the Army became ill. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like button, subscribe the channel, and share the video. Thank you and have a nice day.